again, thanks very much. And we're going to now introduce our next speaker, which is Ahmed Adel from Microsoft. Okay, so Ahmed, you can share your screen if you'd like. So I'll just give
Thank you, Harold, and thank you, team. Let me do just that.
Okay, I'm just going to give a little bit of a background here on Ahmed. So Ahmed Adel, excuse me, leads customer engineering teams at Microsoft focused on data and AI customer successes across Canada. Ahmed has 30 plus years of experience across 3 continents, settling in Canada in 2016, focused on the growth and success of the Microsoft Azure platform. Ahmed is a regular speaker in the WW conferences and events, and maybe you could explain what the WW conferences are when you're chatting, and a passion with technology and innovation, and a passion for cloud computing, a passion for AI, data science, and the business disruption opportunities they enable. So Ahmed, I'm going to turn this over to you and look forward to your talk today.
Thank you, Harold, and thank you for the whole Waterloo AI Institute team. It's always a pleasure to join this conference, and following esteemed colleagues like Katie. It's last time we spoke in a similar conference, we were meeting face to face. So things are a bit different now, but hey, we still get to connect. And yes, it just worldwide conferences. So okay. Yes, I've through my career, I had the privilege of working in many regions of the world, and speaking in different occasions to share some knowledge and join different discussions is always a passion of mine. So with that in mind, hi everyone. Really appreciate you making the time to join us today. I'm Ahmed Adel. I manage a team that works across Canada, helping many customers of Microsoft in their data and AI platforms and solutions. And it's always a pleasure because you see 2 things. One is you're always learning, which is a passion of me and many people I know on the team. And also you're making a difference. So it's always great to share some of that as we go, and that will be my purpose today. So with that, the points I wanted to focus on today, and I hope they become useful to you, are why responsible AI. And here I will try to focus and maybe iterate a couple of times from different angles on the purpose. It's very important to like for all of us to focus on the purpose and take it from there. So we build a holistic view of both the opportunities and the challenges that are facing this subject. Now, the second part I want to cover is how do we operationalize? One of the main challenges that we always help our customers with is there are amazing aspects of AI and machine learning and how they can get infused in use cases that actually make a difference in the world. While we do that, operationalizing machine learning is something that needs attention as well. And there are lots of advances in this space and things that we can share. Third one is kind of, I'm separating it on purpose, although it's probably a part of the previous ones, but because it's an area of technology that is becoming more and more a topic of interest as you operationalize AI, confidential computing, and I'll cover some of that. So with that, let's just start. And I wanted to start with a simple yet powerful statement by Brad Smith from Microsoft. And it is very important because, as I said, I wanted to start with the purpose, and I'll let you read it. But the main aspect here is technology innovation is not going to slow down. I mean, we are talking about AI mainly and machine learning today, but there is a bigger picture between cloud computing, IoT, and the billions of devices that are out there and will be more out in the world, and the combination of all of that, and why AI is kind of the biggest part of that equation, and nothing is going to slow down. Now, the work we need to manage it needs to speed up, and that is something that I think is agreed across the industry, and there are lots of amazing efforts that are going around that, and I'll share some of that as well. I wanted to start with this, but then let's maybe take a step back and say why again. Why are advancements in AI different? What makes it different? So the first thing that you would want to look at is proximity to human intelligence, and that is, while amazing, it's a powerful tool, and it can be used for both harm and good, and that is what is driving the conversation today. It is because of that pace of innovation that technology is making breakthroughs. If we look at our work in Microsoft, reaching human parity, it is something that is always an amazing milestone. And if we look at the progress over the last few years, 2018, reaching human parity in machine reading, machine translation, and then global language, general language understanding in 2019. So that pace of innovation is important to watch, because it is fast and it is accelerating, and that's the nature of how technology works when you're working with that. But maybe taking another angle on that is, about 30 years ago, every business was looking at software as the way to redefine how it ran its operations. So there were those new systems of record. So systems of record were there to manage core processes. Think about things like accounting, payroll, resource planning, customer management, all of that. And the change was that foundation of what we're calling now digital transformation. Now, as big as a change that was, it was mainly focused in making things that were there more efficient. Okay. Now, if we look at the past decade, systems of record have been extended. So now into the so-called systems of engagement. So now you're looking at companies engaging with their customers and seeing how they use their products, and even what those products are. Along the way, software evolved from being focused on efficiencies to becoming a core aspect of the business. I mean, where the differentiation battle is fought is really in software. I mean, when we discuss companies, and I'm sure you listen to these examples all the time, but I'll look at them from a different perspective. If I say Netflix, Airbnb, Uber, and Amazon, and you hear me referring to these companies as media, real estate, transportation, and retail, it will just sound weird because they are not your normal media, real estate, and transportation and retail companies. They are essentially software companies, and software is the primary function inside of this organization. Now, as this whole systems of record started maturing, and then systems of engagement, the one thing that is clearly happening is the proliferation of data. And proliferation of data just gets us to where we are now. I mean, we moved from paper to digital. Systems of engagements are generating vast amounts of data. And now we have systems of intelligence, because now we can reason over all of this data, and that's where AI comes in, and that's why it's super important to just understand where we're coming from, and why is it such a powerful tool today. It's because we do have that accumulating body of data, and now we do have the computing power and the science and the ability to reason over that data. And then now businesses are looking at this as now the new primary differentiator. when you look at the power that you can gain with reasoning over the data and generating insights and predictions out of that, it changes everything. So with that, you'll find that as let's zoom in quickly into some of the examples that we can see. Today, when you look at any industry, so healthcare, retail, manufacturing, financial services, you'll always find that software, systems of engagement, and then AI are generating more opportunities. In healthcare, meeting the health demands. We've all seen how fast things can get challenging in the last year, and how amazing efforts like chatbots to answer people's question, and systems to quickly zoom in into helping people are becoming very, very useful. From a healthcare professional, doing things faster. So when you look at some of the awesome work that is being done by researchers in Waterloo and all over the country, like when you need to go through vast amounts of radiology, and having the AI help you do things faster, and that eventually gets healthcare professionals more time with patients, where we really need the help. When we look at an industry like retail, better customer support. I mean, now you have digital racks and then virtual buying experiences. AI is assisting in the shopping experience, recommending stuff and actually helping you with more aspects. On the retail business side, behavioral analytics is becoming a big thing, and actually a huge enabler in eventually getting the core, which is better customer support on the buying, on the support, on every aspect of it. I'll jump into manufacturing because I have an example for you from Canada, from financial services. But if you look at manufacturing, and we have the event today, collecting data about the use and the performance of the products of the factory making the products, and all of that is something that kind of existed in certain forms, but now we have that ability to reason over that data and generate insights out of that data, and more often in certain kind of setups, we have human-robot collaboration, where now robots can handle more of the cognitive tasks and make autonomous decisions, and that enables the workers and the factories to do more, to focus more on higher end tasks and activities. If we go back to financial services, and I'll dig deeper into this, big data. I mean, making sense of big data, laws and regulations, engaging with customers in a meaningful way, and that's the example I chose for you today, but also detecting fraud. I mean, we sometimes talk about sciencey part of things, that anomaly detection and algorithms, but when you are able to operationalize that into a final pipeline, you're able to actually do good and detect fraud and help the customer and the financial institution with that. So with that, let's get into our first example, and it's a Canadian company, Pure Facts. Amazing story, and let me just ground us first. So Pure Facts helps wealth management firms retain investors, manage risk, maintain compliance, and run operations better and faster with AI power solution. They provide a platform that is called Insights as a Service. And the fun fact here is when you look at how software is proliferating across all industries, is when you talk to Pure Facts employees, they're kind of introduce themselves as data geeks and wealth nerds. So the water cooler kind of talk is finance, and then math equations are on whiteboards are done for fun. As the 2020s began, the industry is facing unusually large transfer of wealth, and that is generating more opportunity for Pure Facts to provide hyper-personalized wealth advice. And what do we mean by that is when you look at a certain agent in PureFacts and the investors, they're helping them. There are many services that require insights, and now we're talking about too many parameters that are driving that discussion. Something where AI fits just naturally, and machine learning, and with that, the investor retention models actually predicts whether an advisor's investors are likely to leave in 3, 6, 12, or 24 months, and that's based on about 150 variables or more. And advisors not only see the probabilities assigned to each possible outcome, but also the what if. So kind of helping them understand what are the impacts of the different parameters and how they can use that in business. Now, we know from the machine learning side and this kind of the science and technology side what that means, but for us to put it seamlessly in a business scenario where it does make a difference for the company, for their clients, the investors in this case, it's just a different way, and that's the differentiation you can get with something like AI. Now, as I said, in this segment where I focus more on the purpose of responsible AI, I wanted to also maybe have another iteration and step back a little. Why are industries and businesses adopting AI in the first place? I mean, we talked a little about the advances in AI and things that the different industries get out of it, but maybe again grounding us in the purpose more and the why. It's about the business models that are now possible. Applying this new breed of digital technologies, what happens is companies can now intelligently engage with customers and transform their products. We're hearing more and more stories about products that were not possible before. And think about products as not only the physical ones. I mean, the ThyssenKrupp, the elevator company, being able to offer a certain level of service level agreement on their maintenance contracts just because they can predict faster and in advance. So now they can offer uptime that they couldn't offer before. And that's because of the infusion of that technology in there. So again, empowering employees is another thing, and optimizing their operations. The more important about this, as I talked about systems of records, driving efficiencies, system of engagement, driving more data in the mix, and now systems of intelligence, making use of that to provide a different level of value to the customers. This is also a digital feedback loop, because what this brings into the equation is, as you optimize your operations more and engage customers more and empower employees and transform products, what happens is you're inherently also getting more data signals. And these data signals will come back, and here is the acceleration aspect. When we say AI is different in many ways, in the power it can deliver, but also the acceleration that it can advance in, and I thought this can help us get into that. So, with that in mind, what is today's debate? I mean, obviously we're having lots of different aspects about the debate about AI and why we bring the subject of responsible AI. I mean, you look at things like deep fakes about maybe presidents, about different known people, AI-driven targeting systems for drone platforms. If you talk about search and translation, I always use, if we had time, I would bore you with doing it again. But if you start on a translator app, from she's a doctor, translate into a language that doesn't have a difference between male and female, and then come back, will it come as she's a doctor or he's a doctor? When you search for CEO and look at the images, do you get a representation of all the CEOs in the world, or white males? And there are many amazing white male CEOs, but it's just that we want to get more into a fair representation of the world around us. So with that in mind, there are lots of debates, and Canada is no different. Every probably a couple of weeks, we get an example. I threw in here an example from a few months back when we in a mall starting to use cameras to just look at the gender and age groups of the buyers in the mall, and if you aggregate that, there is obvious value to the mall company, but now we get into a debate about, okay, do you have consent from users? Are you keeping or not keeping the pictures, and so on and so forth. So with that in mind, I wanted to look at I mean, and sometimes we are guilty in the AI community of dismissing some of the discussions. I mean, it's very easy to just smile and dismiss a discussion about hey, are robots and AI going to enslave the world? And I can see where that comes from, but we have to consider that this is coming from concern, and if we don't address it, then it will just keep lingering there, and we need to be able to explain why this is not something that we have today. But also on the other side, hey, what if a robot accidentally kills someone? Who's to blame? And the driverless car example is always there. So I'll move quicker now to give us some time to maybe answer a few questions. And again, but the debate is here. The debate is healthy, in my opinion and Microsoft opinion, is something we promote. Some of the amazing people we have in Canada, Joshua Bengio, the godfather, one of the godfathers of deep learning, is active on this debate. So with that in mind, maybe another aspect we should be considering, which comes from data, is when we look at enterprises, at customers, what are they considering when they're looking at AI? And you look at the top drivers for them are data security and privacy, transparency, being able to explain to their customers why decisions are being made by an algorithm. And these are some of the important topics that we go. I will run quickly to catch up on time, but one of the amazing books you can find, and it is free, it's called The Future Computed, and you can search for it and find it, but it lays out the principles that we in Microsoft have on how responsible AI should be approached, and I'll run quickly through them. Fairness, I mean, treating similarly situated groups of people in different ways should never be an outcome of AI. And if we leave it to just the body of data and reasoning over the body of data without considerations for bias and so on, that can happen, and we need to be focused on that. Reliability and safety. We need to understand that AI and machine learning is inherently an engineering probabilistic system. So these systems are different. I mean, AI systems by their very nature have errors. I mean, we have always an accuracy measure that represents the existence of errors. So now we need to understand not just how accurate or how few errors the system, but we need to understand what kind of errors and what kind of consequences to these errors, and how can we deal with that. Privacy and security, we talked about it, but this is kind of one of the most important parts. AI, the fuel for it is data. If we're not careful, we have to acknowledge the tension between the need for more personal data to make systems more personal and effective, and privacy. These should not be something that we compromise on. Inclusiveness. I mean, if we look, for example, in the world today, 1 billion people with disabilities exist in the world, and AI technologies can be a game changer here, improving access to education, government services, employment, information, a wide range of opportunities, and this is something that actually can remove lots of barriers. And again, there is always an if there, which is if we are putting this as one of the main premises of how we develop AI. Underneath all of that, and many colleagues have mentioned already, is transparency, being able to explain the behavior of AI and sharing that knowledge with stakeholders. And of course, accountability. People who design and deploy AI systems should be accountable for how their systems operate, and that's a discussion that goes far beyond technology, and it's a discussion that we're involved in, and we all should be more involved in. I'll run quickly through operationalizing, which is the second topic, and again, I'll pick up the pace here. The first pillar of this is having it for all skill levels. If I know that in some circles, if I ask the question, hey, to do machine learning, do I need to know how to code? I will be laughed at. I mean, people like, yeah, if you don't know Python, R, or a different Scala or different languages, then machine learning maybe not for you. I mean, when we look at the process of just supervised learning and the fact that we need to ingest data, transform it, and then split it, train, score, evaluate, and then based on different iterations, get a model out. The discussion and the tools that exist today, actually, you can do all of that with no code experience, and it works, and it can deliver many things. So things like meeting every skill level are very important. MLOps is a topic that is, if I single out the one important technology that we need to push all the time to make AI real, it is this. It is MLOps. I mean, when we get the science packaged in an algorithm and then doing that in a model, that's amazing. It's just fascinating. But if we can't get it to be reproducible, validated, the deployment of the model and the retention of it, because that's sometimes a legal requirement, then MLOps is the answer. And if we don't pay attention to that and just keep things, okay, they work, and then do not infuse them in an easy way that goes across IT and business, then that is something that will be a throttle, and we need to pay attention to that. Another example that is amazing from Western Canada today, it is Translink with Metro Vancouver Transportation Authority, and it is a great example because MLOps here comes to light, and let me spend some time on this, and maybe we'll open room for questions after that. The signals that are coming to this in the pilot are basically machine learning models for 13 bus stops. And Translink were confident they could scale across 250 Translink routes and bus stops. So they used modeling, and then they drove localized information for each component, and then going from there, they actually reached the final outcome where they have automated pipeline that are using MLOps to train 18,000 machine learning models that are feeding new data from stops, schedules, and sensors on buses, and that is cutting time for the eventual experience that is getting to be delivered by for the riders on that. So again, MLOps cannot speak enough about it. I'll talk about one last thing, and I'll send you the link for it. Confidential computing. Confidential computing is a way to protect data in use, and I'll just skip to this one link that I want to share with you. If you want to learn more about it, it's basically this one. So aka.ms/confidential inference. Think about reality in the world where if you think about banks and different credit authorities, and they need to run machine learning models on data that is coming from every participant in it, and how you can actually make sure that this is possible without compromising on privacy. This is called multi-party machine learning, and there is an ability today to do that in a confidential way that doesn't compromise anyone. So with that, I know I ran across many things, so let me leave you with two things. aka.ms/AI Business School. If you are a business person or you know of business people who want to get educated more on AI and how to use it, that would be a great link. And our AI resources, responsible AI resources, are many of the things we provide from Microsoft. always happy to help. And I think we are almost at time. I don't know, Harold, if we want to take any questions or we just wait.
We've got one quick question here. Question says, a quick search for ebook future computers results in a huge list. Could you post any specific, if the book you mentioned?
It's the future computed, so ED computed. Sorry about that, and I don't know. I can share it with the group, and we can share it with you all. The future computed is the book.
If you could share that thereafter, that would be great.
Okay.
And one more quick question, if you could keep this answer to a minute. How do you define responsible AI?
Oh, that's not a minute. So,
okay.
No, I mean, responsible AI is basically with the power that we are getting with AI and machine learning and the quick advances and the human proximity. How can we design these systems so we direct it more for good than harm? I would put that as the general definition. How can we manage it at a speed faster than the pace of innovation in technology? And there are amazing efforts in that, and they are proving successful. Just join the discussion and follow some of the links we shared. It is possible, but it needs to be done, and we are happy to be part of it, but it's everybody's job.
Well, Ahmed, thanks so much for your chat today. Very insightful. Hopefully all the attendees enjoyed it as much as I did.